Now, to be perfectly honest, I have worked with a lot of people that have, suffered either some type of setback with CrossFit. And it's, to be perfectly clear, I'm not against CrossFit. I think CrossFit is an excellent tool. There's a lot of good concepts, but to be honest, like I have never done CrossFit by myself. And a lot of my athletes, it might be like how you are training in baseball. Like it's like, okay, we're going to take some CrossFit workouts. We're going to incorporate it into what you do. One, for either like just mental interest. Maybe you like to do these workouts. How can we make it work for you? Usually my piece of the puzzle is, okay, you want to do CrossFit? Let's take what you're doing now and how can I make you more, I guess, ready or better suited to get benefit out of these workouts. That would be more my specialty. But from a CrossFit perspective, let's talk a little bit about that. If you had anybody, I guess, who maybe like in my lens, were exposed to some of the real basic concepts, like how you were in high school, maybe. But if you were to explain to them what CrossFit is, who it's suited for, I guess, I know that's something you want to talk about. What would kind of your spiel be to get someone that's exposed but not in CrossFit?
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing is delineating the sport of CrossFit from the wellness-based program of CrossFit. So the sport creates a lot of interest in CrossFit because let's be honest, like the bodies are unbelievable on they're doing crazy things. I mean, you're talking about people who are walking on their hands 100 yards and then turning around and running low 5-minute miles and then squatting 500 pounds. Like that's remarkable to have all of those skills wrapped up in one person. So it's intriguing, right? But then when we look at our program for fitness and just doing this for life, the basic premise is you learn your technique first. Once you are sound in your fundamentals, then you start to introduce intensity. CrossFit has a recommended diet. I don't know that I would necessarily agree with it, but it is effective for a lot of people. But that's basically the concept is make sure you move well, then start to bring in. And every movement is, they use the term infinitely scalable. Obviously that like limits exist, right? You can only scale an air squat or a body weight squat so much, but there's ways to do things safely for almost every person. I'm not going to say every person because there are always circumstances that don't allow that. But yeah, I've worked with people who are significantly deconditioned and you just have to handle them a little bit more with kid gloves. I mean, the reality is like, if you're in the summer and where my group coaching was in New Orleans and it's a heat index of 115 degrees, you can't people to go as hard as they can for 20 minutes. So yeah, figuring out how to manipulate the workouts for each person is really challenging inside of a group class, but in a good CrossFit gym, that's what you're going to find. That said, like if you don't enjoy that intense burning feeling and like the feeling like you just got punched in the gut, CrossFit's not for you. Like there's plenty of ways to be healthy and strong and never experience that sort of discomfort. So yeah, I mean, I think for the right person, it makes a ton of sense. It's very engaging. And because the routines are always different, you get to experience a lot of different things. The problem with that is like the skill acquisition curve gets a little bit elongated. So maybe you're doing more elementary work for a longer period of time than you might like to. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's kind of where CrossFit is in my mind.
Yes. I like how that was a great explanation. I like how you said it too, because there's more than one way to, not every style of workout or philosophy is going to fit everyone, but you still can take some concepts and apply it to whatever else you're trying to achieve fitness wise. Now, since you kind of mentioned it, it's not for everyone. Obviously, it's going to be as you get more versed into moving well, moving properly, you can ramp up the intensity, right? It's good to target both strength and endurance at the same time. It's good to get a quick high intensity workout without spending hours and hours in the gym, right? So talk a little bit about, I think a lot of people that really stick with CrossFit, they enjoy the culture of it. And you kind of mentioned, going back to like the culture of your high school team, right? It seems like this is the perfect fit for you to continue after college, right? That cultural aspect of not only the type of workouts, but the intensity of the people doing the workouts, kind of the whole environment. And I think that's what CrossFit has done really well, is they've branded this type of culture, right? So explain a little bit about that. What is the CrossFit culture, either that, in your perspective or at Training Think Tank too? What can you share about that?
Yeah. So one of the things that's very interesting with CrossFit is people think about it as just like this global entity. And the reality is that CrossFit at the gym that I'm sitting in right now looks very different than CrossFit at the gym that's 2 miles away from here, which looks way different than the CrossFit that's right around the corner from you. The culture is typically a top-down thing, like in any organization. So a lot of it kind of falls on the gym owner or the gym manager or whoever's around the most to set that culture. Generally speaking, though, it's a group of very hardworking people who are generally very supportive with other athletes. Obviously, you get into the competitive nature, but even with that, it's that we're pushing each other, because if you and I line up to do the same workout, I'm not playing defense against you. Like we're just racing. So there's nothing like from the competitive standpoint that I'm necessarily doing to undermine you. So it's kind of like the rising tide philosophy, right? So that's generally what most CrossFit gyms look like. Now, the amount of hands-on coaching that you get from the gym is vastly different. Like CrossFit NOLA, where I was in New Orleans, is very, very hands-on. If you don't get a cue from the coach in a session, it is very rare. And it's similar with this gym here. So Training Think Tank subleases space from CrossFit United, and CrossFit United has a great group of coaches that are very attentive. I have dropped into gyms that basically they start the clock, turn on the music, and then you're on your own. If that ever happens and you drop into a gym, leave. Like not good. As far as Training Think Tank, our culture is very fun loving. Like we have a great group of people. I think a lot of the tone is set by actually the guy who owns the CrossFit gym is one of the best CrossFitters in the world. And he does such an amazing job of making everyone feel welcome. And when you get that from one of the top 10 athletes in the world, like that's huge from a culture standpoint. Like just how easy it is to generally like assimilate in. No one takes themselves too serious, and we're largely very competition driven. So we do have athletes who are not, and they work out on site with our competitive athletes, and they coexist very well. Like it's not like it's middle school boys and girls sitting on opposite ends of the gym, like everyone's interacting with each other. So that's really cool. Yeah. So our kind of the thing we're known for in the sport is being tacticians and being like very technique oriented. So we do a lot of skill refinement work, and we really think about what is the best way to approach this workout. How do we break the reps? How do we take rest breaks? Those kind of things. But the other thing is like, we also recognize like you can't outthink poor work capacity. Like you do still have to work. So yeah, I don't know if that really fully answers your question, but that's kind of the best I got for now.
No, that's great. I mean, I think there's a lot of gems in there, and showing people that, well, one, you need to be in a place where you're going to push yourself and you're going to have others that support you. I think that's a underlying theme with a lot of any fitness facility, I would say. Any type of movement facility, doesn't matter what you're striving for. And then the second thing is that it shows that you need to work hard, you need to show up, you need to put in the work. But as you start to do more of that, it's a very complex, like multifactorial thing to actually get you to improve. Like, I think that's where you guys do a good job as a staff, you know, talking about how you can actually help this person get more out of the workouts, things like that. And I think that's a common theme for all of the people that help a lot of people successfully at any level, right? Doesn't matter if you're like just doing it as a way to get more healthy and fit, or if you're trying to compete in CrossFit or compete at the professional level in your sport. I think that's when it's not so simple that as you get better and better, more proficient, it's not so simple like I can just keep showing up and just putting in the effort, because at a certain time, there's going to be all of these other things that you're not factoring in that is going to start to bump you up even further as you get more proficient.